Alright, so we're back in. Sorry for the sound issues there, but now we're taking a look at Absolute Legends versus 25 XX5 in the Defense Season 3. So this is a Group D game. The Defense is a tournament sponsored by the Join Dota organization and primarily commented on by Toby1. So they've already begun the draft, so let's jump right in. Absolute Legends, who are playing with one primary player and 4 stand-ins, including the extremely popular Dota streamer Merlini, banned out Batrider and Nyx Assassin. These are really extremely common bans. We've discussed them sort of ad nauseum before. Nyx Assassin, a very, very strong support, mandates that the other team deal with the fact that he can stealth, and additionally has great stunning potential and mana burn that scales well into the later stages of the game. Batrider is just basically the strongest solo mid, can also be played solo lane, can also be played, there's sort of an exotic jungle approach to him. So just one of the strongest heroes. You very, very rarely see him make it out of the bans. X25, meanwhile, ban out Darkseer and Magnus. These are heroes we've also discussed, primarily big teamfight heroes that are very, very difficult to deal with in a 5-on-5 situation. So after these heroes are out, we sort of go into the draft, and lots of very, very powerful heroes are still available. 25, who are a primarily Russian team. I think they have one player who's not, whose nationality isn't Russian, and it's Belarusian or Bulgarian or another Eastern European nation. So definitely a CIS team. They take Wisp for their first pick. So this is a pick that really Russian teams favor much, much more than any other teams. Actually, this PGG. So if this is really PGG, he used to be the captain of a team called Moscow 5 that was actually at the International too. But at any rate, so they take Wisp first, and this is really a CIS type first pick because they really like that great mobility. They like that gank ability, the ability to sort of get into team fights, get into fights wherever they want. And so Wisp's ultimate, which is Relocate, which allows her to teleport with another player to a certain area for 12 seconds, really creates that wide open, chaotic attacking game that these teams favor. AL in response picks up 2 very strong heroes as well. They take Undying and Lone Druid. Again, these are just sort of which of the very powerful heroes that weren't banned in the first 4 bans do we typically favor? Let's take those. So Lone Druid, great pushing capacity, a pretty good mid-game to early-late game carry. Also versatile in terms of where it can go. You can put him in the solo safe, you can put him in the solo offlane. You can actually jungle with him, although I don't think pros generally do because it's not that efficient. Just a very strong, versatile hero with a lot of things to his credit. And then Undying is sort of their teamfight selection that wasn't banned out earlier on. He's got this ability to steal strength. He's got a heal and or a damage. He's got this tombstone ability, which slows people down a lot. Just a very strong, again, an extremely strong, versatile toolkit. Just picking all around good heroes. Then 25 picks up Chen and Chaos Knight. So this is another hero that's... Chen is a very team-specific hero where teams that don't really favor him never pick him. And teams that do favor him pick him quite frequently. So he's not really evenly distributed in terms of popularity across the corpus of teams. It's really, some teams really like him, some teams don't favor him at all. So clearly 25 actually wanted to pick him up. He's going to be a good support. He's going to be coming out of the jungle and really giving them that additional early game boost. This is definitely a team that wants to get lots of kills early in the game because they have this Chen who's very strong early. They have this Wisp Chaos Knight combo that we've talked about before. Chaos Knight is one of the favored heroes to pair with Wisp. He's very good. It's very good to teleport Chaos Knight over because he's got a very strong stun. He can chase people down with Reality Rift. Later on, once he has Phantasm, it's almost like you're teleporting 4 heroes over. He's just a strong hero. He's a strong early game sort of carry in the sense that he does quite well early on and doesn't really need that much farm just to become effective. The flip side is that he doesn't scale that amazingly into the late game. And then AL pick up Rubik. Rubik is a strong hero to steal various spells. One spell that is valuable is this Holy Persuasion. It sort of can take some of the advantage of having the Chen take some neutral creeps back towards your team because you can do the exact same thing. You can also steal Chen's creeps with it. Some of Wisp spells or Chaos Knight, particularly Chaos Knight's stun, can be valuable to steal as well. I would say this is about an average set of spells for Rubik to steal overall. But Rubik is very good even if there are only a few good stealing targets on the other team. And then they just give you the space to have even more strong play. So we went into the second ban phase, and AL takes out TA, Brewmaster, Tidehunter. TA is a fairly strong mid. We've sort of seen her drop out of this guaranteed first 4 ban slots just because there's not that much room to ban heroes out in the first 4 bans. There are still some teams in the world that really, really favor banning TA first or picking TA first. LGD Gaming from China is one of them, but a lot of teams have decided sort of not to, because there are things you can do against TA, and we'll talk about that more maybe next time we actually see a TA. And the Brewmaster and Tidehunter, these are good overall teamfight heroes. It's interesting that they chose to ban Tidehunter, as not a ton of teams are picking Tidehunter right now, but maybe this is something where they researched XX5 more deeply than I did and understand what sort of lineups they use to pair with these heroes. Definitely a Tidehunter that's able to reach level 6 in a timely fashion is a great adjunct to this early game fighting lineup of Chad and Chaos Knight. Meanwhile, 25 choose to ban out Queen of Pain, Keeper of the Light, Leshrac. Queen of Pain is a smart ban. This is another hero that's almost always run in the middle. Now that Batrider and Templar Assassin, who are the 2 heroes that sort of are on the mid-rung higher than Queen of Pain, 25 can ban out Queen of Pain to ensure that AL doesn't actually pick up the strongest mid hero left, essentially. And then they take out Leshrac and Keeper of the Light. Keeper of the Light sort of gives anti-push. It would make it very, very difficult for Chen to convert an early lead into a win. Chen is very good at pushing towers early, and Keeper of the Light would make that much more difficult, in addition to just being an extremely powerful hero. And then Leshrac, another hero that can do some anti-pushing and actually pushing as well. It's just a potentially dangerous hero to do a lot of magic damage and to sort of counteract their early advantage. Although they could have taken Leshrac as well, so that's interesting. And they choose to pick up Invoker. This is a hero we don't see that frequently. He used to be almost ubiquitous, and then there are 2 things happened, really. One is that he received a somewhat substantial nerf to his early laning presence, just in terms of lowering his base damage, making it not so easy to dominate the lane against almost any hero with Invoker. And the other change that's sort of relevant is that it's not just that he got nerfed, and it maybe isn't even primarily that he got nerfed. It certainly plays a role, but sometimes heroes will rise and fall just due to the fact that sort of the approach of teams to the game changes. So Invoker, who sort of, he doesn't have that much contribution to a team if he's in the middle and if he's not getting that many levels early. So unless he sort of rockets ahead in the middle, he just doesn't really provide that early presence or early need to be dealt with that maybe some of the stronger mid-heroes do. Particularly something like a Batrider. Now that Batrider is so strong, Batrider sort of, the moment he hits level 6, it's almost trivially easy for him to go get a kill. And so, actually we had a lot of disconnects. That's interesting. I don't know how this is going to go. I think this game might be remade after the draft phase ends. So Invoker is still a very strong hero. His gimmick, if you haven't really seen an Invoker before, is that rather than having 4 spells, so a Q, a W, an E, and an ultimate, Invoker has 3 orbs. So you can have up to 3 of these up at any given time. So you could have, say, Quas Quas QQQ or WWW or EEE. They're called Quas Wes Exort. If you can see, it's QWE. And this sort of determines what his stats are at any given time. And this is interesting as well. And so the combination of orbs that Invoker actually has determines what spells he can generate with his invocability. So he can have up to 2 stored spells out of a pool of 10. So each unique combination of the orbs generates a different sort of spell. And so when we talk about heroes with versatility, Invoker is damn near the platonic ideal of versatility, because he really can do just about anything. He can cast spells that drain mana, or he can cast crowd control, or he can deal global damage, or he can go stealth, or I mean, he can just do a lot of stuff. So the last couple picks are actually pretty interesting, and so this draft was extremely standard for the first 3 picks, and then extremely non-standard for the last 2 picks. So AL picks up Death Prophet and Sven. Death Prophet is a hero we don't see too much of either, but she is quite strong. She's a very sort of tanky intelligence hero. She's able to take a lot of punishment later on. She can push very well with her Exorcism ultimate, which does sort of area. It does damage to a particular target using spectral projections of herself, and we'll definitely see that spell used. I'll point it out when it comes out. And she's a fairly strong mid. She's an okay mid, actually, I should say. She's not tremendously strong, but she's not bad either. We see Death Prophet all over the place. When she's used, which is quite unusual, she sometimes is put in the middle. She's actually sometimes, we saw an exotic choice by Invictus Gaming, sort of the best team in the world, the Chinese team IG. They actually played her as the carry once, which was interesting and very, very non-standard, of course. But also an option, you sort of get very tanky early, you make yourself impossible to deal with, and just Crypt Swarm as a damage column and silence the enemy team into submission, really. And then they take Sven, which I guess it's not that unusual, but certainly Sven has seen his star dim a little bit. It was only a few weeks ago that everybody was complaining nonstop about Sven being way too good, and he received a nerf which was substantial. They just sort of took out some cleave damage from him primarily, and a lot of the commentariat were like, "Oh, Sven is still way, way, way too strong. Sven is still way too good. He still needs more and more nerfs." But I mean, what you actually saw is that, it was enough. Sometimes a small nerf is enough to nudge teams into seeing more clearly that a hero isn't as strong as maybe previously thought. And what the Dota Academy folks said, there's this guy named Bruno who operates a website called Dota Academy, which collects statistics and other data from professional matches, is that really only a few teams were utilizing Sven to his full potential. Like, many teams were sort of picking the Sven almost ubiquitously early in drafts, but they weren't actually getting much of a return out of it. Like, it didn't improve their win rate any, or it even hurt it. It was only a couple teams that were sort of putting compositions together and putting Sven in situations where he was always able to, do exactly what you wanted him to do. So Sven's still a good hero. He's still able to. One of the nice things about Sven is that you can play him in a variety of roles. You can make him your sort of number one primary farmer and get him a lot of gold if you want to win. If you want to win not too late, but you sort of just want to overwhelm people with tons of damage, and you have a big crowd control ability to pull people in. That's actually not the case in this game. But you can also play Sven all the way down to sort of number 4. You can play him in more of a supporting role where he gets farm eventually. He gets some gold later to maybe finish off his BKB or something. But the nice thing about Sven is that even with not a lot of items, he can deal a ton of damage, and that's really the strength of this God Strength Ultimate. I mean, if Sven does 300% of damage, even if that base value is not tremendously high because he doesn't have that much farm, 300% is it's a lot of percent, right? It's he does a lot more damage when this ultimate is up, and the stun is so useful, really, that you could just wander around with maybe a buddy and just do tons of damage and gank people. 25, meanwhile, pick up Ricky. So their hard carry is going to be Ricky Maru. This is an interesting character. I think this was partially picked up as a response to this Death Prophet. Death Prophet is quite mobile and quite tanky and sort of has this ability to just bat blast you into oblivion. But you can get right on her and smoke screen and silence her, and then it's going to be much more difficult for her to get away from this Ricky. Additionally, Rickies typically build Diffusal Blade. They actually almost always build Diffusal Blade, and that gives them sort of a passive mana burn and a quick attack. So that's also going to be very useful against heroes like Rubik and heroes like Death Prophet, and even Undying and sometimes Sven, to sort of burn away their mana so they can't be useful in a teamfight context. I'm going to check to see if the game got remade. It did not. Alright, well, while we wait for it to get remade, I'll talk a little bit more about what the actual teams were. So, basically, what you have is on... I should be careful here that I don't immediately forget what the actual lineups were. So, XX5's lineup was... So, they have this Ricky Maru and this Invoker. And so, where we're probably going to expect to see them is that the Invoker is going to go mid, and the Ricky Maru is probably going to be their safe lane. And then they had, in addition, they have their Chaos Knight, Wisp, and Chen. So actually that's pretty interesting. They need to have, I mean, they don't strictly need to have, but they don't really have a hero who has an easy time on the solo off lane. So as we've sort of mentioned before, each team, the way that the Dota map is arranged is that each team sort of has a lane that's safe, and that's why it's called the safe lane, and a lane that's more dangerous, which is called the off lane or the suicide lane. I typically prefer calling it the off lane. And the reason why those things are called that is, let's take Radiant for instance. If we look at if we think about the map of Dota, yeah, sorry, I just had to answer a quick viewer question. We're currently showing the placeholder just because there's actually nothing going on, so I don't have anything to show. Once the game resumes, I will definitely just bring the game back up, but there's really no reason why people should have to watch the Dota menu. I guess there's no reason why not. Maybe I'll switch it back. Alright, that's fine. We can watch the Dota menu. So, so at any rate, so they have an issue with the off lane in the sense that it's much more dangerous to put heroes in a lane where most of the action occurs beyond your river, because essentially you're putting yourself vulnerable to heroes from the opposing team coming out of, for instance, the opposing team's jungle and immediately trying to gank you or to set up an unfavorable trade. By contrast, the lane in which most of the action occurs on your side of the river is the converse. So somebody could come out of your jungle and kill one of their players, and it's just the closer it is to their tower, the sort of less in control of the situation you are, and the closer it is to your tower, the more in control of the situation you are. So most teams, I would say, really favor the ability to. So most teams will, if they have a carry or they're looking for a very safe farming situation, will put their carry in their safe lane, and then put like maybe a hero who's able to handle being oppressed by 2 or 3 opposing players just by themselves in the off lane. So there are certain heroes who are sort of specialists in handling that off lane. So we sort of always point them out because a strong off lane hero is very critical. Darkseer is sort of the quintessential example. He's been around forever, and he's a very strong solo lane hero. He is able to... The keys you need to be a good solo lane hero usually are something like the ability to get farm from a distance. So if you come right up to the creep line to get your farm, if you're like a pure melee hero with no real ranged attacks, it's going to be very difficult for you, especially against a tri-lane with 3 players, to actually get up and get that farm and be okay. But if you can farm from a distance, if you can stay from a fairly safe distance and actually get your last hits, then it becomes much easier. Alternately, you can sort of substitute for this by being very tanky. Like, there's a school of thought that Tidehunter can be used as an offlane. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's certain players that seem to do much better with it than certain other players. But at any rate, Tidehunter as an offlane hero can't farm from range at all, but he's so tanky that sometimes you can just sort of survive as long as you can make sure that the creep lane is actually under your tower. But usually you want something like the ability to farm from range so that you don't cop tons of harass every time you want to get a last hit. And you want an escape, so if the heroes do decide to dive on you and attack you, you can just sort of run away very easily. And so Darkseer is the quintessential example because you can put Ion Shell on creeps from a distance, get that farm using that damage, not get pushed, and if he ever gets in trouble, he's got his surge ability to get away. Another example is Magnus. Magnus is a melee hero, but he does have a ranged shockwave ability that deals damage to targets up to 1,000 units away. And he's got Skewer, which lets him sort of run away from any sort of trouble he gets into. And so whenever you sort of see a hero, you can sort of think to yourself, how likely is this to be a useful solo offlane hero? Because there actually aren't that many in the pool that are especially good at it. So teams are always sort of on the lookout for new ones. We saw a brief period in the Asian metagame where they were trying to use Clockwork as a solo lane hero, and it worked okay, I thought, actually, but maybe they just didn't get that much out of the bargain, so they sort of stopped doing it. Which is unfortunate. I'm a big fan of Clockwork. So we're going to jump back into the game, and again, 25's team, just to review, is Ricky Maru, the stealthing sort of carry hero, Invoker, who's a mid. He actually is a solo lane option. He's not the best at it, but it will get him the levels that he needs, so that's good. And it will be tough for him to survive, but maybe not impossible. And then Chaos Knight, Wisp, and Chen. So the interesting thing is sort of where So one of their options is to actually run the Chaos Knight Wisp as a lane, run the Ricky Maru on the solo safe lane, have the Chaos Knight Wisp in the middle, and Invoker on the side lane solo. So it sort of gives Invoker a very tough lane to deal with, but the plus side is that the Chaos Knight Wisp will essentially probably dominate the middle. They'll get a good amount of farm on that Chaos Knight. They'll hit the early levels so that Chaos Knight can sort of fly around with the Wisp and kill people in whatever lane he likes, and it'll get Ricky Maru levels extremely quickly. Ricky Maru actually does not become a stealth hero until level 6. So heroes like Bounty Hunter and Clinks, if they want to, they can train stealth right from level 1 and be invisible for most of the rest of the game, right? But Ricky Maru works a little differently. His stealth is actually his ultimate. So until he hits level 6, he doesn't have sort of this huge portion of the power of his character. And so that's quite relevant, and what teams will do when they're up against a Ricky is try to limit his leveling before level 6. So the longer it takes Ricky Maru to hit level 6, the more in good shape you are, because you don't have to worry about him. You don't have to worry about where is Ricky, because you kind of always know. So you'll sort of see that AL will be looking to prevent 25's Rikimuru from leveling very quickly. But if they have to put a lot of heroes on lanes to sort of deal with, for instance, the Chaos Knight Wisp, or if they're playing a safe tri-lane against this sort of Invoker, maybe they'll get kills on the Invoker, but the fact that Rikimuru will be on the relatively safe lane, and he's going to be solo, means that his XP, his experience gain, will be extremely, extremely high. And he'll hit those levels early, and he'll hit stealth early. And that'll be very, very effective for him. That's certainly only one of many possibilities for how they want to lane this. They do have quite a few options. But certainly, so keep an eye out for, when you see lanes, think about, is the team trying to win this lane? What are they trying to get from this lane? Like, are they trying to just get XP for the people here? Are they trying to dominate this lane so somebody gets farm? Are they trying to kill somebody in the opposing side of the lane from the other team? And that's the sort of calculation that you want to think about. So, what? So I guess what may have happened is that there was a drafting error made, and that now we're going back into the draft to correct it? Yes, that must be it. Well, ignore absolutely everything I said about the draft to date, because we are changing what the 4th and 5th picks are for each team. I actually thought those were interesting lineups, but this is fine too. Alright, so the 4th pick for 25 is going to be Tinker. And Tinker is another sort of hero that some teams will pick up and some teams won't, because he's very subtle. He's a hero, a very finesse-oriented hero, a strong hero, and he's sort of a intelligence carry with an extremely unique loadout. He's got this laser, which blinds heroes. It's good against physical damage heroes. It's not especially great against any of AL's heroes right now, but it does do great damage, and the damage it does is pure, so it's not reduced by magic defense. He's got this heat-seeking missile, which does generous damage to 2 targets. And he's got this March of the Machines, which sort of paints an area with damaging robots. It's a very fun ability to watch. And so March of the Machines is actually an area denial ability. It makes Tinker one of the best anti-pushers in the game, in the sense that it becomes very, very difficult to push a tower when there are tons of little robots riding on it. But the real marquee ability, oh wow, yes, this is I think this actually is PGG, because this is a very PGG-ish lineup in some respects, this Nature's Prophet. I'll talk about Nature's Prophet in a second, but the real linchpin ability of Tinker is this rearm. And for a lot of mana, Tinker can reset the cooldown on every item and ability he has. And so he can sort of make 3 March of the Machines at the same spot if he wants. Or he can Heat-Seeking Missile, rearm Heat-Seeking Missile, and just deal essentially a total of 650 damage. So once you get your rearm, and once you get an item like Boots of Travel, so Boots of Travel is sort of replicates the ability of a teleport scroll, but it's not a consumable. Once you have that, your Tinker essentially becomes a mobile pushing and fighting force, where he can be anywhere on the map at any given time. And so what 25 have done here is a very, very different thing from what we thought they were going to do. 25 has put together what some people call Team Global, or one of the possibilities for Team Global, which is the sense that all their heroes, except for Chen, and even Chen actually, have essentially global presence. So we're in for sort of a treat. We're in for an extremely aggressive early game ganking game. And the reason why I say that is, as soon as Wisp hits 6, he's going to have this relocate ability. And relocate lets him and lets the Wisp and another hero teleport to anywhere on the map. And so usually what that's going to happen is with Chaos Knight. So Wisp is going to tether up with Chaos Knight, and they're going to teleport right onto Lifestealer, for instance, on Absolute Legends, which is going to be their primary, their farm receiving player. Now, the instant that Chaos Knight and Wisp do this, Nature's Prophet, who has this teleportation ability, which is just as simple as what it says, at max rank on a 20-second cooldown, he can teleport anywhere. So Chaos Knight and Wisp go on top of the target, or on top of 2 targets. Nature's Prophet uses teleportation to come in. Tinker uses his Boots of Travel rearm combo to come in as well, or come in as close as he possibly can. And now, if you're 2 of AL's heroes, or 1 of AL's heroes that was sort of happily farming away, how exactly do you deal with the fact that 4 heroes are now on top of you? Or even if there's 3 or 4 AL heroes, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there are 4 heroes attacking you. And if the fight starts turning your way, Chen has this heal. Chen's ultimate, his Hand of God, actually heals every player on the map on his team. So he doesn't have to be in the fight to provide that healing potential. So that's 25's game plan. And so very unorthodox, very much a CIS team type approach of we are going to just blow the game open and get more kills than you could ever know how to deal with. AL's team, meanwhile, is much more, much more standard. So they've got their Lifestealer as a carry. This is extremely popular carry right now. He does great damage. He's able to farm quite effectively. With a little bit of just attack speed haste, he becomes a team fighting terror, and his immunity to magic is very, very strong. So at max rank, 6 seconds of immunity to spells is going to just give conniptions to actually Chaos Knight, because he won't really be able to stun him for that period. But also Wisp won't be able to deal damage or stun. Tinker won't be able to deal any damage or crowd control. We actually have seen Tinker get the best of Lifestealer on occasion if the Tinker is able to get amazing farm. But not tremendously frequently. Really, you need so much farm that you're just able to always control the Tinker with the Lifestealer with crowd control. So what they've actually gone for is that they have the Tinker mid. This is fairly common. Tinker isn't the greatest mid in the world, but he's certainly not bad. And he is able to get his levels, to get these early ranks of Laser and March of the Machines, to just be a terror in terms of how much magic damage he's able to deal. And then he'll ideally also get enough farm that he actually will be able to pick up those boots in a timely fashion as well. And that's really key for Tinker, is those early boots of travel. It's about 2,450 gold expenditure, and he has to save 2,000 of it at the same time. But if he does, and when he does, that's really when Tinker begins to come online and really be threatening. And he is up against Merlini, so I mentioned Merlini, but the stream was being wonky, so I didn't actually talk about him too much. But Merlini is a player who is not actually in a pro team right now, but he is one of the most, he actually is the most popular Dota 2 streamer. And I think he's actively looking to join a team. So we'll see him more and more, I think, in these games, playing as a stand-in and maybe suited enough as a player on a team. And it's interesting to notice that they put this Sentry Ward here. So this might seem like it's doing nothing, but what it's actually doing is if 25 go for an early smoke gank, so if they use Smoke of Deceit to bring some of these heroes from up top over to kill Windrunner, this Sentry Ward will spot it out, and Windrunner will be able to get away, ideally, by using her Windrun to escape. So that's actually very, very, very smart, because 25 are a team that's going to want to be getting those early kills. And the danger is going to come from top lane, not from bottom lane, which is why you sort of see the Sentry Ward up here. And so far, Windrunner has been doing great. He's held Tinker to only about, they're pretty close, but he does have more last hits than Tinker does and more denies. So in the bottom lane, this one-on-one lane, we've got Lone Druid against Nature's Prophet. And this is an interesting matchup. Nature's Prophet is a pretty good solo lane hero. Here they put him solo safe rather than solo in the off lane. So he's actually able to not take that much damage or fear that much from this Lone Druid yet. Once this bear gets its Entangle ability and one more level, this is going to put the Nature's Prophet in a little bit more danger. And huge fight up top. They are going to pick off Miracle here. Sort of a trade-off. 25 are able to get the first blood. Great tether there, but will it be enough? No. That's unfortunate. They definitely probably should not have taken that fight. Very bold move by 25 there. Actually, yes, they might lose another player here. No, they won't, actually. Really good rage. Excellent rage, and the Sprout misses the ability to actually block off the Lifestealer. But essentially what happened there, they're still fighting, so they're going to jump on with the Chaos Knight, use that Reality Rift to try to pick off Mania here. And 3 seconds stun. This will be the death of this Undying. This Lifestealer is still trying to do as much damage as he possibly can, but it's not going to actually be enough to pick up these heroes. So 5 kills already, and like I said, it's going to be a game with lots of killing. So what happened there was 25 essentially decided to put pedal to the metal. I mean, they did this aggressive trialing. They have Chen actually farming the opposing team's jungle, so they figured, no, we have to get kills to actually make this worthwhile. And they jump in, but unfortunately, they lost every single hero in the lane there. The only problem for AL was I think they overextended after that a little bit. They were like, oh, Nature's Prophet teleported in as well? We can kill him. And they couldn't, actually. They couldn't pick him off. And as a consequence, they lost a hero in the form of this Undying that they didn't strictly need to. But nonetheless, definitely a happy start if you're AL. Every time... This is another good point that actually Bruno from Dota Academy raised. And I hadn't thought about it in exactly these terms, but it's certainly true. If you're the team that's initiating and trying to get ganks... a trade is not tremendously favorable for you because for a couple of reasons. There was an opportunity cost of the fact that you tried to gank. Like, you could have just been farming, but instead you chose to try to go and get kills. So if you don't really get an advantage in the ensuing fight, like if you tie it or even if you lose slightly, you've actually lost more than it seems because you've lost a little bit of room in terms of your game plan. Like, now that's one more gank opportunity that you didn't win on. Like, let's say that hypothetically you need to win 10 ganks to just put a game away early to make it impossible for the other team to come back. You know, now that your first gank failed, or it only sort of hedged, now you only have 9 opportunities, right? So your window of opportunity to win sort of gets narrower. Now, I don't think in XX5's case they only have this tiny opportunity to win. Tinker can sort of take over a game later on, no question. But definitely it's bruising for them not to have that early tri lane workout. And you can see that after that unsuccessful fight, after sort of realizing that they wouldn't actually be able to get that many uncontested kills in the top lane, they've completely changed game plans. So they're going to actually do the team global at the south lane now, at the bottom lane. So Nature's Prophet jumps in, Chaos Knight and Wisp charge. This Sprout is incredibly unfortunate. It blocks off Lone Druid from actually taking damage. Now, they do pick off Wisp in return. Unfortunately, Miracle on this Rubik will probably die. Really clutch heal from dying there. Saves this Rubik from actually getting picked off. And now a Tombstone is up. And now all of XX5 are trapped here. Tinker comes in. He manages to pick off the Rubik with the Heat-Seeking Missile. He's going to continue chasing. Meanwhile, the Undying is chasing the Nature's Prophet and Chaos Knight, who are also very low. Undying dies to Tinker. Tinker's under the tower, so he will die. Lone Druid and Windrunner are running in. They're going to try to get this Nature's Prophet. Will they actually be able to? The Shackle needs to be perfect. Amazing Shackle from Merlini there. Nature's Prophet is stuck. However, Windrunner gets stunned and taken apart by this Chaos Knight. Actually, the stun is still up, but he gets away. He manages to pop his Windrunner and get back to the tower. Lone Druid is back here, sort of area denial with this bear. Rubik has ported back in. Again, another fight with lots of deaths on either side. And it's sort of exactly what I said, this team global, this we will fight completely under your tower, and it's fine, we're not worried about it. So, but again, it's a trade. And a trade is not favorable for the team that sort of has less late game play. Like later on, this Lone Druid will be quite formidable, and this Lifestealer or even more so. Especially now that they've seeded that lane more. Although actually, Tinker is back up in the top lane now, so once again they've rotated. They rotated this entire tri-lane to the bottom because they thought they'd have better luck against this Lone Druid than they were having against the killing the Lifestealer. So they rotated their entire tri-lane bottom, in response to which Absolute Legends rotated their tri-lane to the bottom. So now Lone Druid is the head of the tri-lane, and Lifestealer is solo in the safe lane. Meanwhile, XX5 rotated their mid, Tinker, to the top lane against this Lifestealer, and they had nobody for a while in the middle lane. Now they have a Nature's Prophet here up against this Windrunner. So the one player who really hasn't moved or even been concerned with any of the changes to the game is Windrunner. Just staying in the middle, getting that farm, not giving two shits. It's not tremendously fair. Merlini, to be fair, did actually travel to the bottom lane to help out. He didn't get any kills while he was there, but I think he did get an assist. So now we have a sort of tri-lane versus tri-lane situation at the bottom. So it's essentially exactly the situation we had at the top at the beginning of the game, we now have at the bottom. And so Lone Druid is sort of the head of the tri-lane, with Undying and Rubik as supports. And Undying and Rubik is a pretty strong support pair. It's tough to push in against Undying, it really is, because that Tombstone, if he doesn't die, 4-second stun is going to be critical, but a great lift from Rubik. Chaos Knight doing a lot of damage to Undying. He does manage to get the Tombstone up, and that's really the critical thing. Lone Druid's here. He's actually stuck in the Nature's Prophet spread. He manages to get out, and now 25 are being chased the other way. There's 4 heroes, and they're being chased by 3. They just want to get out from under this Tombstone. They don't want any Tombstone zombies spawning. Wisp gets picked up, and he gets shackled. That'll be the death of that Wisp. Lone Druid manages to pick up the kill. Chaos Knight is entangled by the Lone Druid Bear. That's going to be very dangerous. He actually dies as well. Tinker is in here. Chen is here. Nature's Prophet is here. But between the 3 of them, they don't have quite enough damage or quite enough levels at this early point in the game to actually do this. Amazing, actually. Huge kill by Merlini there. That shackle on that Nature's Prophet completely shut him down and gave enough time for him to actually pick up that kill. And consequently, that was a disastrous fight for 25. And this is the downside of the CIS style of gameplay. Like, if you're playing incredibly aggressively and you don't manage to get those early kills, what are you doing, really? And this Lone Druid Bear is getting huge entangles on Tinker, and Lifestealer comes in to get that kill. He's popping out. He's continuing to just destroy 25. They're on the run, but Miggle picks up a double kill immediately after teleporting in, and that's exactly what you want for your Lifestealer. 3-0-1, finished Hand of Midas, able to get tons of farm, already having quite a substantial lead. He's the biggest, most farmed hero on the map. He manages to get some free kills. He manages to get even farther ahead. He's done with his power treads. He's done with his Hand of Midas, and he has 1,000 more gold. So this Lifestealer is going to become more and more of a part of this game. And that last fight was basically the worst fight that 25 could hope for. I think every single one of their heroes died once. It went from 5-6 to 5-11. So now they're down by 6 kills against a team that already is sort of looking to extend this out into the mid-game and make their heroes tanky enough that they aren't quite in danger of that global presence of 25. The other downside of having global presence is that if you're fighting a lot under the opposing team's towers, as sort of the second team fight that we saw was, that's additional damage that you don't generally want to take. So actually, Tinker manages to pick off Rubik in the middle, so that's the first kill I've missed. I do apologize for that. But in addition to having this global ganking presence, they really need some pushing. And luckily, they do have Tinker and Nature's Prophet for that. Tinker and Nature's Prophet is quite a strong combo in terms of being able to push. Nature's Prophet has these treants from his Nature's Call ability. Tinker is able to march the machines to clear a lane quickly and make it difficult for the other team to sort of counter your push. And so consequently, those two can really provide a lot of pushing presence, especially in the mid to late game also, when they're sort of able to just teleport to a lane that the other team can't handle and really push it quickly and get out before the other team can react. But getting these tier 1 towers down, I think, is actually quite important to 25's plan, because once these areas aren't safe for the opposing team, it becomes much more difficult for them to actually get their farm. And it becomes much more terrifying for you in terms of they now don't have vision of all of these areas. We got Wisp and Chaos Knight coming in, so this is exactly what we expected. As soon as the Wisp gets the relocate, Nature's Lone Druid is here, but he gets 4-second stun. There's no way that he can live through this. Undyne keeps him up for a pretty long time, and Rubik and Windrunner are joining the fray as well. But will this be enough? No, because Wisp actually teleports right out. Great stun to interrupt that Nature's Prophet teleport, but all they get is Nature's Prophet, and Nature's Prophet, oh, Miggle Tinker runs right into this Lifestealer, and that's going to be another kill for this Windrunner. So Windrunner getting quite a bit of development as well. He had a pretty good middle lane, I would say more or less average, but he's managed to pick up 3 kills and 4 assists, and that's tremendous. I think he's going to be their mech carrier, and he's already getting fairly well on the way to Mechanism. And Mechanism is going to be amazing for Absolute Legends. If Chaos Knight and Wisp sort of jump in on 2 or 3 of them, and one of them's the mech carrier, it's going to be much more difficult for what just happened with the Lone Druid to actually happen again. So you definitely don't want to lose your Lone Druid in exchange for only a Nature's Prophet. But it's going to be fantastic for you to just Mechanism and prevent anybody from dying. So you see that now 25 just pushes right through the bottom. And so Nature's Prophet jumps in. They've got their 3-4 heroes here. Wisp, again, Wisp's relocate at the end of its 12-second duration just teleports Wisp and the tethered target right back to where Wisp started. So it doesn't always have to be the same target, actually, but in this case, Wisp and Chaos Knight jumped in, got the kill, and then immediately jumped out. And sort of no worries, no actual threat of being killed by it. The downside, if you're 25, is that this Lifestealer now has 71 last hits, and the net worth of 3 heroes on the Dire team is quite a bit above what anybody on the Radiant team has. And so what you'll see is that as the game goes on, if 25 aren't able to get these pickoffs, if they aren't able to kill these high-value targets, and that kill on Lone Druid was extremely important for that, but they still need to get the Windrunner and the Lifestealer. If these high-value targets aren't picked off, they're just going to get out-muscled in a lot of team fights. Windrunner picks up Phase Boots. It looks like, oh, actually, no, he's not going to go to the Mechanism. He's going to go immediately into Force Staff. So definitely playing this Windrunner more as sort of a core stunner damager hero. The Phase Boots give her additional damage as well as the ability to chase people down, and both Phase Boots and Force Staff mean that the positioning for Shackle becomes much easier. Shackle is a somewhat wonky spell in that it's a very short stun, but if Windrunner manages to pin... Never mind, we've got a team fight. Chaos Knight and Wisp jump in, but this might be a little too bold. There's 4 heroes here for the Dire. They might pick off Rubik. Amazing sprout by Nature's Prophet there, and now they're sort of trying to back out. Wisp actually dies a second before he can get out, which is which is not what he wanted. But Nature's Prophet there with that sprout, the ability to... amazing power shot from Molini there on this Windrunner. And he's sort of putting on a clinic of how to play Windrunner in this game. Some of these power shots and shackles have just been inspired. So I thought that 25 were going to get away there with maybe just the Wisp dying, just because that Sprout from the Nature's Prophet trapped 3 players inside of it. But Windrunner manages to pick up was that a double kill? No, Undying killed the Wisp, but they managed to lose 2 players, and that's very unfortunate. In the last, they have managed to get 2 kills in the time that Absolute Legends has gotten 9 or 10. And that's definitely not what you want if you're 25, sorry. The plus side is, PGG on this Tinker is almost at his Boots of Travel, so in about 500 more gold, he will be able to pick that Boots of Travel up, and that'll really change the face of the game, because that'll give him another tool to sort of globally present, and a lot more pushing power, and he will be able to join in those games to do a lot of damage. Lifestealer jumps right out of that Lone Druid Bear. This is huge. This is a huge kill for them. Rubik with a stolen laser beam manages to get the last hit on that one. So Lifestealer's Catch a Ride ability is Infest. Really lets him go into any friendly or enemy unit and then pop out of it to deal a ton of damage and heal the Lifestealer if it was an enemy unit. And what happened there is he was inside of the Lone Druid Bear. Like, Lone Druid was across the map, but the bear was there. And so Lifestealer popped right out of that bear, which is quite fast, and then with the aid of Rubik managed to kill Tinker extremely quickly. And this is the part of the game in which Tinker is most vulnerable. He really doesn't have any items other than just a little bit of intelligence and a bottle and a tier 1 boots, because he really needs to save up for that tier 2, for that Boots of Travel. And so in this case, if you're able to get kills on that Tinker when he's in that vulnerable position, that's a huge, huge advantage. And so very smart of them to actually do that on the Lifestealer. And Tinker jumps right back in, cops a lot of damage from Lifestealer and Rubik. Although, with the Nature's Prophet Global Ultimate, that was a lot of damage as well. Again, with 25's team, it's really all about globals. They've got the global damage. Ooh, long-range rockets to get the kill on Rubik. That's very important. That gets him back the gold that he was missing from that last death. And that's quite substantial. It looks like they're going to push the mid-tier 1 now. Yep, absolutely. They've got the Treants up. They've got the Chen creeps. They're going to push this mid-tier 1. And it looks like Absolute Legends is going to look to actually defend that. Good power shot to start out with from Windrunner. And the Undying Tombstone is up. So they're using this exclusively for counter push. I don't think they actually... Oh, really good shackle. Chen and Nature's Prophet are stuck together. Lots of damage out on Nature's Prophet. Chen pops his heals, so now everybody's almost back at full on the Radiant side. So they're actually okay. But now we sort of see more reinforcements being brought in. What 25 are going to do is they're going to wait until this Tombstone is down, and then they're going to look to fight again. But they managed to get a shackle on Tinker, and that's huge. And the Sprout actually traps Tinker, completely unable to actually get any farther, unless he manages to escape it just by using his ultimate, and it heals him up back. So this attempt to push from 25 ended really in disaster. They lose the Tinker again. He's pushed even farther away from its Boots of Travel. And on the flip side, Windrunner picks up the last hit on the tower. His Force Staff is done. So he's got Phase Boots, Force Staff, Null Talisman, Magic Wand, Bottle, 4, 0, and 5, and really just Lifestealer and Windrunner at this point are going to be extremely difficult to deal with. Like, you start pushing, you're like, okay, we're going to push trivially easily. Maybe we'll have to wait for Tombstone to expire on Undying, but that's about it. And instead, Windrunner and Lifestealer manage to kill your most important farm target on the Tinker, and they get your tower. So we wanted to push, but now we lost a tower for our troubles. Definitely not the ideal position to be in. However, so 25 has slowed the game down a bit. I think they realized that they weren't quite farmed enough to actually do what they wanted to do. So now they're getting items on this Chaos Knight. So this Chaos Knight has been completely solo for the little bit, and he's managed to pick up his Power Treads, pick up his Drums. Drums is really, really great for a team like this that's going to be sort of doing 5-man Dota all the time, because you want that buff. You want those that aura of attack speed and give your the additional swiftness aura from the drum activation. Meanwhile, I think AL know that they're ahead. I think they know that they have the room to sort of get this Roshan. That's exactly what they're doing, and that's smart. It's difficult at this point for Absolute Legends for 25 to actually meaningfully contest this. And they're bringing some over to this Chaos Knight and Nature's Prophet. So they do manage to get the tower. Merlini actually takes a lot of damage. Mania pops his ultimate for him. Tombstone is up, so that's going to slow Chaos Knight dramatically. He manages to teleport out, though. They don't really have a stun now that Shackle's down for the Windrunner. This Wisp they have 5 seconds to kill this Wisp. Will they be able to do so? It doesn't look like they will. They're going to most mostly focus on Nature's Prophet. They pop the Shackle Stun, Nature's Prophet uses his Town Portal, and the Undying Decay manages to pick him off. Solo now teleporting out. He has just enough time to actually make it. So they only lose the Nature's Prophet. Tinker, however, cops another death in the middle. That's actually huge. He keeps getting stuck at this 1500. He just can't get quite past that 1500 gold mark. And they also managed to pick off the Roshan, just like I said. Who did they actually put the Aegis on? Lifestealer. Makes sense. He's the highest net worth target for their team. So Miguel on the Lifestealer now has 2 lives. So that's a lot of lives to steal, basically, right? And he's 3-0-6. They managed to find Chen out in the jungle. They kill him trivially easily with this Rubik stun combined with the Lifestealer. And he's just getting bigger and bigger. He's got his full armlet and 3,000 more gold. This is really spiraling out of control for 25. They weren't able to get those early kills. And like I said, like, if you need X number of ganks and the first several ganks don't go well for you, especially if you never kill the Lifestealer, what was the point, right? What was the point of your Team Global if you weren't going to actually dominate the entire map? And they haven't been able to. They have managed to get these 2 tier 1 towers down, so they're not actually behind on towers. But they don't have any vision. They don't really know where the high-profile targets are because they don't understand where the map is. AL has vision of them, so they'll know if 25 is preparing some sort of teleport or some sort of mass movement across the map. And AL's vastly ahead on farm, really. The only target with a lot of net worth on the Radiant side is this Chaos Knight. It looks like he's finished his armlet. He's getting very, very close to finishing his armlet. So it'll be an armlet versus armlet battle, but I really prefer... If I'm Chaos Knight, I definitely have to be afraid of the fact that the other guy has Aegis and he's immune to my stun. Lifestealer is just quite strong against nearly every other strength carry, which is pretty impressive. Now Merlini is doing something incredibly smart here, which is that 25 actually stacked this ancient camp because Tinker is able to catch up on farm very easily by killing an ancient camp, but killing a stacked ancient camp with March of the Machines. So what Merlini does is during a safe moment when he knows that 25 can't watch because they don't have any wards, he walks in and steals all of the creeps in this camp so that Tinker can never pick it up. Now, Tinker does actually eventually manage to hit his Boots of Travel, but 21 minutes is an extremely slow time period for this. You really want that Boots of Travel to have some impact on the game before the 20-minute mark, and the fact that he really didn't is definitely unfortunate for him. But, I mean, it's their game plan advancing at pace, right? The fact that it's better late than never. You really don't want Tinker to not have Boots of Travel. Like, it's really not an option for him not to hit his boots. I've seen it before, but it's, it's not something you actually ever are happy with. Consequently, the fact that he finally managed to pick this up is substantial, and it really was necessary for their game plan. Meanwhile, Chaos Knight gets caught out and double stunned. This Rubik stun is very effective on him. Wisp, extremely smart teleport. They managed to relocate, but unfortunately, in 12 seconds, at least Wisp is going to come back. Hopefully not Wisp and Chaos Knight. It looks like they're just going to leave Wisp to his fate. The entirety of their Dire team, with the Tombstone, just standing around, waiting for Wisp to show up so that they can get the free kill on him. All the spells thrown out. Just get that kill, get that free money. I mean, not tremendously important. It's not the end of the world if your Wisp dies, but... Again, on Wisp, you can sort of see these... one of the things about Wisp is that this tether means that any healing and any mana regeneration that goes to Wisp also goes to the tethered target. So Wisp is this very effective healer in a very non-traditional way, where if Wisp is low and your target is low, you can just sort of use your Urn of Shadows, or use your Tranquil Boots, or use your Magic Wand, and your tethered target actually will receive that as well. Now, Tranquils is actually an interesting choice, but they do manage to peel off, with this Tinker, the lifesteal, from a really good shackle, once again, from Merlini. This is huge. Getting kills on Tinker is just so good, because even after he has Boots of Travel, I mean, Boots of Travel is nice and it gives you global presence, but if your other items are Mantle of Intelligence, Iron Branch, who cares if you have global presence, right? Like, you're not going to contribute that much to the game. So really, the Boots of Travel opens you up to get much more gold, which then opens you up to get items like Sheepstick, like Scythe of Vice, like, Ethereal Blade. I should be more likely to say Ghost Scepter. Ghost Scepter is going to be an extremely important item for him. They do manage to bring a team of 3 up here to kill the Lone Druid. You can see that the Lone Druid put up quite a fight. He actually did a lot of damage to all their targets. But that's important. They really want to get these kills, these pickoffs. So Lone Druid looks like he's building Assault Cuirass on his bear, so that's what this plate mail is all about. So that'll give the Lifestealer more attack speed. It'll give the Windrunner more attack speed, because that's going to become relevant as time goes by. This Windrunner is just getting tons of money. He's got Mechanism completely done now, which, like I said, is very important for them. Rubik picks up Blink. That's amazing for them. That gives them the initiation that they need. Lifestealer finishes off his Maelstrom, so that's a lot more damage and attack speed for him. And meanwhile, they are going to push the tier 1 tower. So that's so low, this is going to be fairly trivial to get. They do pop, this is a smart fortification just to waste more time for them. But Tinker gets out. This tombstone isn't going to end up doing much. There's not actually going to be an engagement. They do actually save this tower. They're going to deny it. Yeah. Will they deny it? Yes, they will deny it. So 25 will not actually get the additional gold from managing to kill this tower. They get some gold, but not nearly as much as they otherwise would have. So with Tinker, he's really going to want Ghost Scepter and Scythe of Vice, I think. The Ghost Scepter, because then during that period of time, he can't be attacked by Lifestealer. And technically, he can make it so that he can never be attacked by Lifestealer, just by Ghost Scepter, rearm, Ghost Scepter, rearm, so on and so forth. But the other item is, I mean, Sheepstick is also going to be tremendously important. It's really good to get the Scythe of Vice for the additional crowd control. And technically, at that point, Tinker can permanently crowd control a target, just because he just uses this mana to sheep, rearm, sheep, rearm, sheep, rearm. So we still see Unicorn XOXO trying to get his farm here. He has not gone the Radiance Lone Druid, which is smart. He sort of had the most trouble out of any of the core heroes on AL's team, in the sense that he got targeted a lot for kills, and he's still being targeted for kills. So what he's actually done is, rather than go the Radiance, he's gone the more direct bear damage approach with the Maelstrom, which will eventually turn to a Mjolnir. It's actually very close to a Mjolnir. He already has this. Oh, Chaos Knight and Wisp are right back on him. They're right attacking. He sort of realizes it's going to happen. Oh, that was unfortunate. Major misclick from Nexus on this Chaos Knight. He actually Reality Rifted the bear instead of the Lone Druid, because at the moment that he attempted to Reality Rift, the Lone Druid summoned his bear back, and the bear stood right where he was planning to Reality Rift. So just imagine that you're Chaos Knight there on like the field of battle, right? And you like traverse the abyss to kill Lone Druid, and then there's just a hairy bear where you wanted the Druid to be. Really great Sprout from Nature's Prophet there. Again, trapping the Lone Druid and the Lifestealer, making all of, essentially, AL's damage not being able to be brought to bear there. But unfortunately, when they do manage to get time on target, it's so strong that 25 Seros just melt. And so the downside of Tinker Boots of Travel is that if you're pushed all the way back into your base, it hardly matters that you can teleport anywhere to your units that you want, because you really don't have any units that you feel comfortable teleporting to that aren't inside of your base. They do manage to kill that bear, but unfortunately there was a Lifestealer inside of it. So Lifestealer pops right out. They do manage to get another Sprout. This Sprout's been extremely effective. All props due to ZXC. Some of these Sprouts have really kept at 25 in the game by causing them not to take tons of damage immediately from Lifestealer and from Lone Druid. So actually AL are on their retreat. They're too low to press the issue here, so they're just going to go out and get some more farm. But again, if you're AL, you're very happy to be on the offensive. Like, if 25's global presence team is reacting to you rather than the other way around, that's fantastic. It looks like Mania is just going to jump in right against the Nature's Prophet and the Tinker here. This is potentially very dangerous, but he does pop the Tombstone. He's going to try to Tinker. Oh, really great teleport interrupt there. But Chaos Knight and Wisp are jumping in as well, and so Rubik just gets melted, and it looks like Mania will die as well. So great jump in by Chaos Knight and Wisp there, actually, turning that into 2 free kills. Lifestealer dies as well? How the hell did he die? What? I don't understand how Lifestealer died, because I'm an idiot. Oh, I think he died to the Nature's Prophet ultimate, actually. So that's gotta be bitter. He does buy back, but that sets him quite a bit farther back from his next item. So his Mjolnir is obviously done. So he's got Armlet, Power Treads, Hand of Midas, Mjolnir. But the need to buy back there actually set him back quite a bit. On the plus side, this Lone Druid is now getting quite big. I mean, he's got the Mjolnir basically done on the bear. It looks like he's continuing to make... Oh, actually, did he just make a Naked Plate Mail? Just making a lot of defensive items, it seems like. Okay, so rather than finish the Mjolnir immediately, he actually has the bear make a full Cuirass. So that's actually really good. It'll buff the Lifestealer as well. The main thing for teamfights for these guys, for AL right now, is they have to make sure that the Lone Druid bear, and the Lifestealer don't get trapped in one Sprout from ZXC, because that just means that the team has barely any damage for a very long time, honestly, for well, he actually only has 1 rank of Sprout so far, but for 3 full seconds, it's almost like an AoE disable. Now, they could chew through this in various ways. Like, they might want to invest a Quelling Blade on one of these characters, actually, just to chew through that Sprout. And I think that might be actually a good idea, but... At any rate, right now, it looks like AL are waiting for the second Roche. So once they have another Aegis up on this Lifestealer, maybe they feel a lot more confident to actually win. He's Lone Druid trying to get a proc on that Wisp. Will he actually get it? He does not. He doesn't get any Entangle procs, and Entangle proc would have interrupted that teleport and given them another free kill on that Wisp. But no such luck. However, they're continuing to develop the Spirit Bear. You can see that both the Spirit Bear and the Lifestealer sort of built this Hand of Midas to give themselves additional gold and additional attack speed. It's actually funny, Spirit Bear and Lifestealer have a lot of similarities. I mean, don't tell them, because I don't think they would like to hear that, but they are quite similar in some ways. They build the same sort of items. The only thing that you see on Lifesteal that you don't generally see on Spirit Bear is armlet, just because why would you put an armlet on a bear? I mean, just think about it. Bear arms are just not properly shaped for you to put an armlet on them. It makes no sense whatsoever. Merlini doing a bit of tanking on Roshan. He actually uses his Windrunner ultimate to deal damage over time. With this double damage rune, Windrunner ultimate is actually quite formidable. And so tons of damage onto Roshan. You can additionally use the Windrun to tank Roshan and not take any damage from him. So very, very quick Roshan kill there. Really no opportunity at all for XX5 to go in and interrupt that. And so more gold for all their players. And Lone Druid picks up the Aegis that time. Not actually Lifestealer, which is interesting. I mean, Lifestealer was out farming Jugbo creeps, but still. Lone Druid as an Aegis target is sometimes disfavored, just because if you lose your bear and you can't resummon it, then it hardly matters that you're alive, because really, usually your high value items are on the bear rather than on the hero. So, okay, you're alive again, and you're a Lone Druid, but if you don't have your bear, you know, Cloak and Tranquil Boots isn't going to put the Fear of God into the other team. It just won't. And Miggle's coming back in here. No, but usually, in this case, I think they think that even if the Lone Druid does die, he'll still have additional bear summons, just because XX5 hasn't really been effectively targeting the bear at all. So, that's sort of the thinking behind that decision. So, AL continuing to develop, I think they still feel fairly confident that XX5 doesn't have the tools to do that split pushing that effectively, to the point where it'll just get them killed. So they can sort of develop their heroes more and really have just an overwhelming force pushing down that tier 3 tower when they're ready. So Rubik sort of clearing out this top, and I mean, this Rubik doesn't have a lot of items, but even getting Blink on sort of, if you're the hardest support on your team, which in this case Rubik absolutely is, he's the number 5, he's dead last for farm. The fact that you managed to pick up a Blink is very, very substantial, because it does give you that initiation ability, it does let you spell steal at will for the spells that you want to particularly get, and I think that'll come in handy, and we're going to definitely see that as a factor. Meanwhile, Windrunner is building into Sheepstick, so he's got this ultimate orb. This is, for a Windrunner, this is usually going to go into Scythe of Ice. There are several options for it, but usually on Windrunner, it's going to be a Scythe of Ice. So he is going to have additional crowd control that'll be very effective against that Chaos Knight, actually quite effective against the Tinker as well. So this Windrunner, I mean, keep an eye on her. She's very, very formidable and still hasn't died. Like, that's really incredible. Like, the only hero on the map that hasn't died, actually. Lifestealer's only died once, but technically twice if you count the Aegis loss. So again, you can see that XX5 are really just not feeling quite confident enough to do these jumps anymore. I think what we'll see next, if anything, is a jump on Miguel here on the Lifestealer, because this is 25's one spot where they sort of know what's going on. They know what's going on over here and over here. But if heroes are in sort of this no man's land or all the way over here, they don't really know, and they can't really jump in on them without, you know, they won't have the information necessary to make an informed decision on whether to jump in or not. But when heroes are here, there is that opportunity. They're going to jump in, so this is very, very bold. They are going to kill this Rubik extremely quickly. Rubik really wants something like a Ghost Scepter to actually live through situations like this. And they're all jumping in now. We've got 4 heroes here. This Undying is sort of just running around trying to survive, and now the entirety of AL is coming to catch up. Nexus actually gets another kill, so he's dominating on this Chaos Knight, and Wisp manages to get out. So, you know, kind of late, but 25's game plan is really starting to actually work out, because they get in, they get kills, and AL are completely unable to punish it. So I really thought that if it didn't work out for them very early, it would become more and more difficult for them to actually get anything to happen. But that hasn't been exactly correct. There are these sort of targets that are weak enough that 25 can really just kill them and then get out before AL are able to respond in any meaningful way. And that generates space every single time for Tinker and Nature's Prophet to really deal a lot of damage. With this mechanism and with this Force Staff, they're quite defensible. It's going to be difficult to punish them. And what happens is that some of the team goes to gank, and some of the team goes to farm, and some of the team goes to push. So they managed to get the tier 2 tower here, while AL are dealing with the ganking presence on the other side of the map. Now, they do lose Nature's Prophet for it, but Nature's Prophet in exchange for a tier 2 tower is fantastic. And this really just, you know, expands the possible space for them to play around in. The more towers they get, the more AL has to play defensively and within a clamshell position. But if one of their heroes goes away to sort of get farm somewhere, then that's a great opportunity for the gank. And once AL brings all their heroes to handle the gank, that's when Tinker and Nature's Prophet can go on another side of the map and get a lot of pushing done. So really interesting stuff, honestly. I'm really impressed that XX5, even with this really, really rocky start, had managed to make this work as well as they have. And the Chaos Knight, his net worth is actually past the Windrunner, so that's quite substantial. Windrunner just hasn't really been getting that much farm lately. I mean, it's still fantastic that he has no deaths, and he is going to build his Sheepstick sooner or later, and that's going to be a very substantial differentiator. Actually, he's very close to finishing that Scythe of Vice. Won't change his net worth, because converting money into an item doesn't actually change your net worth, but the fact is the actual worth of the hero to the game will substantially improve, just because you know, it's important to be able to turn characters into sheep. He does finish it. He what he did there was he actually power shotted this ancient creep. If you've ever played Dota, you might have noticed that most of the creeps here are immune to magic. The sole exception out of the creeps that spawn in the ancient spot is those two small drakes. So when you have the big drake and the two small drakes, the two small drakes are not immune to magic. So just important to know. You can use magic spells to farm them. So it looks like AL want to actually put the crimp on and put that actual put all their net worth into practice and really actually get that fight. It looks like they were basically waiting for the Sheepstick on the Windrunner, actually. So this bear just dealing a lot of damage. They're really pushing in. Also, they do want to use this Aegis before it expires. It expires extremely soon, actually. This is dangerous. They should have probably done this earlier. In about 20 seconds, you're actually going to see this Aegis go away. And so if that happens in the middle of a fight and Lone Druid dies afterwards, that's going to be very, very frustrating for them. Yep, it just expired. Are they going to keep pushing is my question. Do they know it's expired, and do they care? They have just a lot of damage, so they are able to bring that tier 3 tower down, and the bear is just solo punching away at that melee Rex. XX5 needs to do something now. Chaos Knight jumps in and he's immediately turned into a sheep by Windrunner. Really good sprout once again. They really need that Quelling Blade. Lifestealer jumps into a creep, he jumps right back out. Chaos Knight gets away with his life, but this melee Rex is going to go down. XX5's entire team is here defending. The robots are going out, the March of the Machines, but they are not able to defend these Rexes. So they are down 2 Rex. The melee Rex and the ranged Rex are gone. And so that is the advantage that AL were definitely looking for there. Merlini jumps over to the tier 2 bot tower. This is actually almost dead, but it looks like he'll be able to defend it or maybe get the deny. Will this catapult actually destroy it? It will not, so he does manage to get the deny, and that's a little gold not going the way of 25. But they don't really, I feel like if you're 25, you don't actually care that much about the tower gold. I mean, you obviously do, you want to get it if you can. But the most important thing is to create space, is to make sure that you can keep pushing up into these, counter-push these pushes. So that push from AL took quite a while to actually kill those Raxes. During that time, if you could send one of your heroes like Tinker or Nature's Prophet out and actually threaten a Rax for a Rax, that would be very, very difficult for AL to deal with. But now they're up a Rax, so they can trade, you know, the second set of Raxes for the first set of Raxes. A number of important items hit there again, actually. Lifestealer picks up his heart, so this is quite a defensive item for Lifestealer to build, but it is important here to sort of just live through the immense amount of punishment he's going to be taking in these longer engagements. So he picks up the heart. I really just wish he would still delegate a slot to Quelling Blade, just so that Sprout doesn't shut him down so much, but maybe it's not as important as I think it is. Meanwhile, Nature's Prophet behind the Windrunner, which is very unusual, because usually a Nature's Prophet will trivially outfarm a Windrunner, but he does hit that Scythe of Vice timing, so that's going to be important as well. Take out that bear, or get that Lifestealer when he's not magic immune. Another great shackle from Merlini there. Are they actually going to fight on this? Yeah, with that shackle, they feel confident enough to put down the tombstone, but it's not quite enough. XX5 just retreats. They manage to get away, no problem. That shackle does not latch. If they'd gotten that second shackle, maybe that would have worked. I don't know what he's doing exactly. Merlini actually pops his ultimate to try to attack the Wisp, but they just don't have quite the chasing power to make that happen right now. Alright. So what you sort of see is that both teams' game plan's running on full steam. What AL really want to do, I think, now is secure another set of racks. It's all well and good to be up one set of racks, but 2 sets of racks really almost puts the game away. So I think they really want to continue pushing that, or you might see them actually wait out the next Roshan, because it's in a minute, and try to get the Roshan, because it's still going to be extremely difficult for 25 to actually 5-on-5 punish them in the Roshan pit. They could try, but I'm not sure it would actually be successful. So I think they'll probably wait for the... Yeah, definitely. Their behavior now leads me to think that they're going to wait for the Roshan, get that Aegis up on either Lifestealer or on Lone Druid. I think more likely on Lone Druid, just because now that the Lifestealer has Heart, you're really not going to see that Lifestealer die. Like, it's just really not going to happen. Looks like they're pushing through. They're just pushing back bottom. Tinker and Nature's Prophet are once again trying to make sort of inroads on this lane. So they're just pushing it back so that after the Roshan, it doesn't take them too long to just transition into a full-on push. They actually pop Sheep, which is interesting. I wonder if they think that more people than just the Tinker are here. They're still trying to chase really great Sheep there, actually. That was critical. It looks like Chaos Knight's going to jump in. Ooh, just a bit too late on that. It's just Wisp. He wanted to take the Tinker and bring him back. But unfortunately, they're probably going to lead to the death of Wisp and the death of Tinker. Will the entangle happen? No, they actually don't have enough damage. The Wisp is just going to get out, no problem. He gets out scot-free and pops Overcharge, just sort of taunt them on his way out. But Tinker has to buy back, so that makes a lot of sense. This means he still won't have Ghost Scepter, but he's getting close. He has the Soul Ring. This is additional mana for Tinker, additional mana regen. Nature's Prophet pushing out the top. They actually, our AL are going to have to bring back Windrunner just to deal with this, and this is substantial. This means that AL are not going to actually take this push right now. What they're probably going to do is make a beeline for Roshan. They're going to push out this lane so that they don't take any damage on this Rax. Windrunner is going to just try to clear these treants out as quickly as possible, and the rest of the team is going to try to pick up Roshan. And like I said, Lifesteal probably is tanky enough that they don't need to put Aegis on him, so they're going to put it on the Lone Druid. It looks like we're going to see a contest on this. The Sprout comes out, he turns it into treants, but it's too late already. That Roshan is just going down so quickly now that they have all this damage on this Lifestealer. He's got the Mjolnir, he's buffed by a Silk Cuirass. Lifesteal actually picks up the Cheese, which is smart. Cheese is an item that only drops on Roshan after the third and every subsequent Roshan kill. And it's basically like the ultimate potion. Like, it's 2,500 health and 1,000 mana restored instantly. So that's an item that, it's almost like a 1-up, except it can't be used reactively. You have to use it before you die. So, fantastic for Lifestealer, definitely pick that up. That gives both Lifestealer and Lone Druid much more sustainability potential. I actually would have... I mean, Cheese is also great on Lone Druid, because if you don't die, then you sort of don't lose... You don't have to resummon the bear, but... I think Aegis is just fine, too. Right now, they're using Lifestealer to actually push out this top lane. He's just clearing it out very, very quickly. I think they realize that it takes a lot longer for Windrunner because he doesn't have that great damage to actually do that. He is Windrun, so even though he copped a 4-second stun, he managed to Windrun just in time that it takes a lot more effort to actually kill him. And he gets away alive. That's astonishing. That was an extremely well-timed Windrun because the entirety of the 4-second stun that Chaos Knight used on him, they weren't actually able to deal any physical damage to him. And on the way back, they managed to pick off the Chen and blow up the Chen's creep with one of the Midases to get even more money. So this Lifestealer is now at 4,000 gold in addition to an almost full inventory. So that's huge. Chen is forced to buy right back because otherwise they're just going to get pushed in. You still see this Nature's Prophet trying to make inroads on this top tower. Merlini's running all the way back on the Windrunner to sort of get that health back. I'm still shocked that he managed to live through that fight. He still has no deaths on the board for Windrunner. But the downside is this push actually is not with the benefit of Windrunner. So they only have 4 heroes, but they do have a very, very big Lifestealer, a very big Little Druid. Are they trying to back out? They're going to go right back. Nexus has his full BKB charge on Chaos Knight, but it might not be enough. He might get picked off. He's at very low health. The Chen heal saves him. So this is a very long fight, and I'm not sure this is actually going all that great for the Dire here. They're not actually able to get the kills, but the continuing bash and bash and bash from the Lone Druid and his bear is enough to just put the pressure on XX5, and if they aren't able to get kills right now, this is going to actually probably be the game. Wisp runs in, immediately gets picked off. The Aegis actually gets down for Lone Druid, but this Chaos Knight is in trouble again, and now there's no Lone Druid heal to save him. The Sprout is taken down. Nature's Prophet finally not able to get the full duration of Sprout off. Chaos Knight is forced to jump back in, and now he's trapped. Now he's entangled by the Lone Druid Bear. Now he's taking tons of damage. This Lifestealer is taking damage as well, but he still has the cheese if he needs it. He's going to have to pop cheese. He does pop it. He's back at full health. Tons of heroes from XX5 going down. No heroes from AL going down. Just too much tankiness, too much Aegis. The mechanism from the Windrunner. Too many tools and too much farm at this point for XX5 to be able to deal with their hero pool. They had an interesting plan. It actually started working maybe a little later than they would have hoped, but it did start working, but it wasn't enough. And now their buildings are just dying in absolutely record time. This will be the 3rd set of racks. This will be the game. You really aren't able with this team to actually beat losing all of your Raxes, and we see the GG come out from PGG. So, great play from AL there. They really understood what the game plan of XX5 were going to be, and they immediately sort of took measures to not be vulnerable to it. And so, smart play, and definitely an interesting game, exciting to watch. Lots of kills, lots of map teleportation, and big involved team fights. But in the end, XX5 just weren't able to make their early game plan work the way they wanted it to. And Shoutouts are definitely, I think, due also to Berlini in this game. This Windrunner play was impeccable. He ends up 5-0 and 13, no deaths whatsoever, gets good farm without crimping the farm of the 2 carries on that team at all. He ends up level 20, just crucial for these team fights, had some shackles that were absolutely fantastic. Managed to keep that Tinker from hitting his Boots of Travel at a more timely fashion. If Tinker had hit Boots of Travel 5 minutes earlier, before those 3 deaths that he had just in sequence, I think you would have seen a potentially very different game coming out. And instead, what you really see happening is just that they're able to prevent that Tinker from doing the counter push. The huge counter pushing, split pushing aspect of the lineup of XX5 didn't really come into play until much later, and so AL was just sort of able to roll over with this high net worth Lone Druid, this high net worth Lifestealer, and those 2 heroes that work really well together. If one of them gets Assault Cuirass, then the other one sort of follows, and Lone Druid with a little bit of extra income there picks up 3 sets of Boots of Travel. Don't try this at home, guys. Don't do this. Don't do this. This does literally nothing. Your multiple boots won't stack their movement speed bonuses, so you don't actually get the benefit from the 2nd or 3rd Boots of Travel at all. And if you think it'll give you 3 teleports, it doesn't. Yeah, 1 Boots of Travel will set all of the Boots of Travel on cooldown. So, yeah. At any rate, I have to actually go to some work meetings, but thanks for watching. I think this was an interesting game. I knew it could be fun, and I'm pleased to see that it was as fun as I thought it would be.